Matt, stock update on Mustang. I'm sitting in my car and it's running, but I'm not going anywhere because I have to work today. But I just dropped my son off at school or daycare, and it's my every other day ritual of starting the car to make sure the battery doesn't die. And it started up fine. I think the last time I started it was 2 days ago. Hopefully, I can take it for a drive today, assuming I don't get a call to tell me that my son is running a fever again. This is like happened 3 times in the past 3 weeks. So I'm sure all of you who are parents know the joy of exposing your kids to whatever nasty things are going around, usually at the start of winter. So fun times. I just came out to the Fox body with the intention of taking it for a drive, and apparently I left it for too long, maybe like 3 days since the last time I drove it, because damn it. The good news, though, is that today is a holiday, and I'm not working, but my son is at daycare. So I might try to do a little bit of stuff in the garage with the Fox body. And I guess some of that stuff can be done while I put the battery on the charger. Okay, so my tentative plan here, hopefully I'm not being too ambitious, but I'm thinking that the easiest process here is going to be to first install the rear lowering springs, because that's definitely easier than doing front springs and control arms and all that. Okay, truck. And then I have a friend who's visiting next week, and I'm hoping that I can enlist his services to help in getting the front suspension done. So, Jonathan, if you're watching this, this is your 1 week-ish warning that you're, weather providing, we're going to be doing some work on the Fox in the garage when you're here. Okay. So here's the springs. I'm pretty sure these are the rears and these are the fronts. I'll double check when I take the ones that are currently in the rear out and confirm. Then I have the other stuff here for the front, and also I got my my very basic instructions written down. So we're gonna document the process and see if it is as easy and smooth as they make it out to be on channels like Late Model Restoration. So I'm going to get ready here, get the car up on a jack stand, and probably just do the driver's side first since it's more accessible with the dude staying out of the garage. And then I'll see, depending on how long that takes, I'll see if I can get some of this stuff out of the way to do the passenger side. Also on the passenger side, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but the ground effect piece that was being held on by like double-sided tape, it definitely is not flush anymore, and it kind of looks like crap. So I have to say that pretty disappointed in that particular part, but I mean, not winning any show trophies with this car, so we'll figure out a solution for that at some point. But first, let's focus on the task at hand. Make some progress. Okay, so I didn't film any of the first part because that's, pretty basic stuff. You put the car in jack stands, have different safety measures depending on your level of risk, comfort, and get the wheel off. And then next I have the jack supporting the control arm. Well, it's not supporting it because everything's still connected, but I'm just putting that there so that when I remove the lower shock hardware, It won't just drop down quickly. I won't say it's not dangerous because, you know, any compressed spring can be dangerous, but it's a little bit less crazy than the front. So basically you just need to, you know, have the jack there so that you can lower the rear end enough that the spring comes out, and then when you put it back in, that you can get the rear end back into place where it needs to be. So first we're going to remove the lower shock hardware, and then I think we're going to remove the quad shock right here, and then once those are both out, I should be able to remove the spring pretty easily, and then I'll also reuse the spring isolator, which you probably can't see that clearly right now. For the rear shock hardware, you're going to need a 15 millimeter open wrench and a 18 millimeter socket. So I just confirmed that both of those fit. So let's get started on this. Okay, I had to move the jack up a little bit to straighten out the shock bolt to get it out, but definitely recommend using impact tools if you remember that you have them and that you can use them for more than just one purpose. Check. Okay, now we got to remove the quad shock. I'm not sure what the hardware size is on that, but stand by. Okay, so the rear bolt is 18 millimeter, and the front hardware I think is the inside one is a 15, I believe, and this maybe not, it may be bigger than 18. I gotta grab something else, but I'm pretty sure 15 works for this one. Gonna see if it's like a 19 or a 20 for that, and the rear one is an 18. So I'm an idiot like usual, but you actually don't really need something for this, because it's actually it's not like a nut that comes separate from the rear end. You just need a 15 millimeter socket, and the best angle that I found was to lay down underneath the gas tank and reach from behind to loosen that, and then once you have it loosened, you can just come over in the wheel well and spin the rest of it out pretty easily. Okay, so that, and then the quad shock comes out pretty easily. When we put that back in, we'll do the new hardware. So basically next, what we want to do is remove the spring and make sure that when we put the new spring in, that we're using the isolator, the upper and lower spring isolators, which I should have one of each. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've done anything with this car, so stand by. Okay, so I think it's mostly uncompressed. It seems like maybe we need to pull down on the brake a little bit, but I'm trying to be careful. You know, safety first always. course, I jinxed myself by saying that the rear springs are easier than the front springs. So now it's taking forever to get the rear spring out. I wonder if it's something to do with the aftermarket control arm. I don't know. Okay, so you can see the lower spring isolator stayed in the cup on the control arm, and the upper spring isolator came out with the spring. So I also have this thing, I can't remember, somebody told me what this was in a comment one time, but this thing that goes in the spring. I assume it has something to do with like noise, vibration, harshness, NVH, I don't know. But I usually, try to reuse stuff, so I guess I'll take it and put it in the lowering spring. Okay, so there's definitely less space in the lowering spring to fit this thing, though I'm still trying to figure out if I'm like correct in my assumption that these are the rear springs and the other ones are the fronts. I'm gonna take a closer look at the ones that I think are the fronts. So I know that like the fronts on the Dude Stang are wider, but that's because it's like a strut in the spring design, at least I think, or maybe it's something to do with the fact that there's more weight in the front, or also something to do with the fact there's more weight in the front of the car with the engine. But on the Fox body, you have it's a strut. It's considered I think it's called a strut, but the strut does not go through the spring. The spring and the strut are separate. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about suspension design to say what the difference is. But I think when the strut goes through the spring, it's like kind of more of a coilover type style or design. I don't know enough again, but yeah, so I'm pretty sure these are the fronts, even though the strut does not go through the spring, and I'm pretty sure those are the rears. So I'm gonna go based on that assumption. See if the spring isolator, the upper spring isolator fits on the new spring. So on these you can see the bottom, I think this is the bottom, is flat, and the top is rounded off like the rest of it. So this should go here, but it's not an easy fit, so I have to play around with it a little bit. You can see there's an indent from the OEM spring. Okay, so now I'm definitely not convinced, because the bottom part of this spring is way too wide for the control arm. At least it seems that way. Let me check. I'm gonna try the other one. Okay, so the isolator definitely fits better on the now that I'm like looking at these again, I'm remembering when I had the front wheels off on the front suspension, and I feel like I remember thinking the springs for the front, they looked kind of long and narrow, which is now like making me glad that I am at least checking everything. Let's see if this fits in the rear. And yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But I feel like this is going to be a little bit tricky. If only I was strong enough to be like, ugh! I need that incredible Hulk strength. Okay, let's see here. Let's get the wrong spring out of the way. So you can see the correct spring is shorter than both the front spring and the rear OEM spring. So they'll tell you, like in the LMR videos, they'll be like, just remove the old spring, put the new spring back in. And I'm like, okay, Landon, this seems a little more complicated than you're making it out to be. Yeah, it's a lot easier when you don't have the isolator in the way. Unfortunately, I need to use the isolator. Maybe if I put it up here. So it takes a little finagling, and I believe the pigtail for the spring is supposed to be like centered. So I can get a good angle on this. Basically, you want it to be like on the control arm and facing towards the middle. At least that's how I had it before, and that's how I understood the way they described it. Well, we already did this, but you want to place the, it says position the new spring into place, ensuring the pigtail is at rear of isolator and centered on the control arm. Is at rear of isolator. I feel like that means the opposite of how I have it. I'm gonna look at some pictures. And then you're supposed to, it says loosely tighten the lower shock hardware. To me that sounds funny, but I get it. Like you basically are gonna replace the shock hardware, but you're not gonna tighten it all the way. Then we'll reinstall the quad shock and lower the car back on the ground and fully tighten the lower shock hardware. I'm trying to figure out this pigtail situation, and then we'll get focused on the shocks, the shock and rear and quad shock hardware. Okay, from the video, it looks like they did the opposite way of what I did. So I just twisted the spring and I have it still centered, but now the pigtail is further back than it was the way I had it. So we're gonna do that, and now let's do the shock hardware. It seems like the new hardware is not use the same wrench size as the old hardware. Okay, sort of got it lined up, but it's definitely not a 15 anymore. See if it's an 18. Interesting. Seems like both the small and the large bolts in the new kit, I got this from LMR, are 18 millimeters, whereas the other one was 15. I can't remember if there's like a torque spec for these, so I'll have to look it up here in a minute. It's 57 to 75 pound-feet. So I'm gonna find my torque wrench and do that. Tootsie Pop. Okay, I was charging my phone so I didn't record any of that stuff, but you can see the wheels back on, cars off, jack stands. The only thing I need to do on the driver's side is put the, I need to torque the hardware for the shock, the lower hardware for the shock to spec. I was trying to think if maybe I should wait until I do the other side and then do both of them at the same time, but I might just do it now just so I don't forget. And then when I do the, my neighbor is blowing leaves. Damn it, Larry. And if I feel like I need to, I could just do both of them at the same time once this other spring is on in the rear. But you can see I don't have a ton of space here, so I'm gonna try and move all this beach stuff and see if that'll give me enough room to do the thing. If not, then I can wait until the battery's charged and just move the car to a better position in the garage, but hopefully I should be able to get this side done over here. And then I'll be halfway done with the suspension, though I'm not sure it's like a realistic halfway considering the amount of effort that has to go into doing the front control arms and the springs and the caster camber plates and the bump steer kit. Obviously a lot more work on that end of the car than on the rear. So yeah, but feels good to have done something for the first time in like, you know, forever. So good times. Man, it's hot as balls. And it's like not even mid-November. Well, it's about almost mid-November. That's crazy. I just got, seems like I got enough space to get this done on this side. I'm working on, I'm gonna move this jack here and basically do the exact same process I did on the passenger side and try and get this, watch my head, try and get this other lowering spring installed, and then start kind of planning for what I'm gonna have to do on the front. I'm definitely gonna have to move the car maybe to the other side of the garage because I got so much crap over here if I have space to do the passenger side. So, but I need to quit being distracted and just get this part done. Okay, I got the passenger side in. Just need to get the wheel put back on. I didn't record any of that because the process was pretty much exactly the same. The only difference being that I forgot to check the hydraulic fluid on my jack, and it was not elevating all the way. Luckily it didn't happen at a worse time than it did, but basically needed to make sure it was bled so there was no air bubbles with the hydraulic fluid, and make sure the fluid was topped off. So another reminder to, you know, check your equipment, make sure everything is operating the way it's supposed to, especially things that you rely on for your safety. So I have to add that to the list of things to make sure we do more regularly, which is check the fluid on the jack, make sure it's functioning properly before you even use it. So I'm gonna get this wheel put on and then get this wrapped up for the day. I don't know if I don't even know if I have a good before picture to do like a before and after, and it's just the rear. Seems like it's a little bit lower. Probably be easier to tell when the entire car is on the same springs and when I get my pony wheels with some tires on there. Yeah, so got the rears done. Feels good to have accomplished something in the garage for the first time in a while. Now I need to get cleaned up and go pick up my son. And yeah, so anyways, yeah, pretty straightforward. I would just say most important things are, you know, making sure you have the right tools, being safe, making sure your jack is working properly. It took me a while because I took a couple breaks. I wasn't in a rush, but I would say that by yourself, I would give yourself like, you know, 2.5, 3 hours. If you have a friend, it would be a lot quicker. But yeah, feels good to be done. Hopefully next thing will be getting some of the front suspension stuff done, and yeah, keep an eye out for more on the Fox Body project from Taco Potato Mustang. Stay healthy, stay safe. Peace out.